Okay, the live stream issue has been sorted out. If we'd like to start moving to our seats, and we'll get the evening underway. That food looks amazing. All right, I'll begin. Welcome, my name's Libby Winchcombe. I'm from the Road Safety and Drug Education branch of the Department of Education, and I have the pleasure of having MC duties this evening. We are pleased to welcome you here to the Talking Levers Parent Information Session, which is presented in partnership with the WA Police and all the amazing service providers and volunteers involved with the Levers strategy. The aim is of the evening is to provide some information about how Levers is managed and allay some of the concerns you may have about navigating Levers celebrations. And we are very grateful to the City of Busselton for hosting this event this evening. Thank you to Peter Tuck and your team, and also to the Red Frogs who have organised for this event to be live streamed. To begin proceedings, I would like to... Oh, what's happened? I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land we are meeting on today, the Wardandi people, including elders past, present and emerging. It's an absolute privilege to be standing on this country. And as we are live streaming this event, I extend that acknowledgement and respect to the traditional owners or custodians of the land wherever people are joining us from today. And I would also like to acknowledge any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here with us today. A couple of housekeeping mentions before we move on. If you have a mobile phone, could you please make sure that's either turned off or put to silent? And in the event that you do need to take a call, if you could do that out of the room, that would be greatly appreciated. In the unlikely event of an emergency, Peter, which are the emergency exits? Thank you, I forgot to check on that. Toilet facilities are through to the left, and that's it for the evening. So a brief overview of how this evening will run is we will have some short presentations, firstly from the WA Police, who will talk about the police response around Levers, the Levers strategy and the Southwest operational response. The Department of Education, a couple of short presentations, one around road safety and the other around alcohol and other drugs. Royal Lifesaving WA, who will talk about some of the events that are happening during Levers. Hope Community Services, who are coordinating the recovery and sobering up area, buggy retrieval, outreach at the bus zone and daytime outreach. And also from Red Frogs, whose volunteers provide direct relief, safety and support to young people during Levers. Following the presentations, we'll have a Q&A panel with representatives from all the services here today. Some of the other people in the room today, we have someone from the Green Team, Margaret River Tourist Association, Southwest Coach Lines. So there are lots of St John Ambulance and the Health Department. Lots of people involved in here this evening. And so if you have questions that you think of during the evening, please keep those to the end of the session when we have a Q&A and you can ask the appropriate person. It's now my great privilege to welcome to the stage Ms Barbara Brown to deliver the opening address. And Barbara is from the WA Police. Welcome, Barbara.
Thank you, everyone. Whoops. Okay, so welcome to the parent information session for leavers down in the southwest this year. It's the first time we've done it, so we hope it's great to see so many people and we hope you enjoy it. Each year, approximately 9,500 school leavers travel to the southwest at the end of November to celebrate the end of their schooling. The southwest has been identified as the key location for leavers celebrations since 2000. In response, the state government introduced a strategy for managing the celebrations to reduce the burden on the local community and services. WA Police has been project managing this strategy since 2011, and the responsibility sits under the remit of the Community Engagement Division. To manage this, WA Police employs a full-time project manager, and that person this year, luckily, is me. I'm managing the strategy and I'm assisted by Miss Samantha Jones, who's standing up at the back of the room there for. Okay, let's try that. I'm going to just do this manually. It's all right, I've got it. There we go, that'll do. I'll just do it manually. So the vision for the strategy is to make leavers a positive and safe experience for all. The goals of the strategy are to provide an attractive, positive and safe environment in which to celebrate leavers. Empower school leavers to make responsible decisions and support and collaborate with the community in delivering leavers to ensure community safety, and to create and promote a positive and inclusive leavers culture. There we go. To successfully meet these goals, events are held throughout the Leavers Week, and they're very well supported by complementary service delivery from a number of government and community organisations and a large number of volunteers, some of whom you will hear from this evening when we have the stalls at the end, so you can see some of the things are set up around and you'll be able to have the opportunity to ask questions. Whoa. There we go. As part of the management by event approach to the Leavers celebrations, events are held throughout the Leavers Week period. Leavers are able to purchase a wristband entitling them to access to the following activities: the Entertainment Zone, which is a festival type event operating over 4 nights from Monday to Thursday, from 7 p.m. through to 1 a.m. each morning. It's located 9 kilometres outside of Dunsborough with a fully fenced and secure area providing entertainment, food, activities in a safe and controlled environment. The Beach Festival is held on Wednesday of the Leavers Week at Meelup Beach. We have a bus service to ferry leavers to and from the events. And to ensure the safety of leavers, access to the entertainment zone and the Beach Fest is restricted to police, event staff and volunteers only. Leavers will only be able to access these events by utilising the endorsed Leavers bus service and by wearing one of the official wristbands. While these Leavers activities and events are run as alcohol and drug-free events, we recognise that some leavers do preload with alcohol and drugs prior to entering the events. particularly the entertainment zone, which creates the need for a sound medical response. As a harm minimisation strategy, WA Health provide a medical response at the zone to ensure patrons are safely managed in the event they require treatment. Within the medical area, there is a range of support services delivering medical assistance to the leavers as required. This includes triage, first aid for minor interventions, advanced first aid for presentations requiring increased medical attention, and the recovery area where leavers are treated and transitioned safely to discharge. WA Police also ensure an increased presence in the southwest for the duration of leavers celebrations. And shortly you'll be hearing from Superintendent Jeff Stewart, who is in charge of the Southwest Police District. And that's not my slide. That's okay, I'll just keep going. For further information and updates in the lead up to leavers, please visit the official Leavers WA website. And I'll repeat that again, Leavers WA website. There are a number of websites out there, they're not the official website. So Leavers WA is where you want to visit. And the Leavers WA Facebook page and the free Leavers WA app. Importantly, the app will need to be downloaded by students who want to attend leavers this year. There are several reasons for this. Firstly, the registration process for wristbands that was enacted through the app last year will also be in place this year. This is necessary for contact tracing purposes to allow and enable the event to go ahead in line with state government COVID-19 guidelines. The app is also a key platform for organisers to share important updates and messages during the Leavers Week. So please, it's very important to have the app and to ensure that your leavers have that, because we will be sending push notifications regarding important messaging out through that leavers app. We will be widely promoting when the app and registration goes live. At this point in time, I cannot give you a date for that, but you'll be kept up to date via Leavers WA. Make sure you keep your eye out for that information as it becomes available. The elephant in the room, mandated vaccinations. The Vaccine Commander, Commissioner Chris Dawson, announced on October 5 that all leavers attending the official leavers events in the southwest have to be vaccinated. This relates to the threat of the COVID-19 Delta strain. You would have seen that vaccinations are already mandatory in other industries and big companies. This is for the protection of employees and staff. The WA Police Force needs to ensure the leavers event is as safe as possible for everyone attending and must take into consideration the health and welfare of the wider community. Whilst it is not acknowledged that leavers attend the event voluntarily, every year there are conditions of entry. This year, mandatory vaccination is one of those conditions of entry. This is about doing all we can to protect people who are in our care and direction for the time they are involved in the leavers activities. Throughout the COVID pandemic, the Commissioner has relied on the health advice of the Chief, well, this is a fun one, I have tongue-tied saying this every time I say it, the Chief Health Officer. From now on I'll refer to him as the CHO. Dr. Andy Robertson. Part of that CHO advice reads, the key focus of government agencies involved with leavers event is to minimise harm and ensure a safe event for school leavers and the local community in the southwest. The leavers event poses unique challenges from the number of attendees and the mixing of non-household groups, particularly in areas of little social distancing. The Commissioner has repeatedly stated he is not discriminating against people. He is discriminating against the virus. The Western Australian community has done a fantastic job of working together to help prevent the spread of COVID-19. Because of the way the community has responded, we have continued to enjoy as near as normal life from anywhere in the world. We are continuing to work through the details of how people, or our leavers, will evidence their vaccination details with us. To help that process, we encourage as many leavers as possible to pre-register with us through the Leavers mobile app with evidence of their vaccination. Further details in relation to release of the app will be provided in time. Please enjoy the upcoming presentations from some of our partners, and thank you.
Thank you. Lots of fantastic information there and a great summary of how Leavers operates down here in the Southwest. And now I'd like to welcome Southwest Superintendent of WA Police, Jeff Stewart, who will talk about the Southwest operational response. Please make him welcome.
Welcome everyone, my name's Jeff Stewart, I'm the District Superintendent for the Southwest, and thanks for coming along and learning more about it. My job to talk today is really easy. People come in? Okay. Okay. Well, maybe I might go up there. So, my job's really easy because we've got the easy bit, and the Southwest District, by the nature of where we live, our business is managing events. That's what we do. We manage a lot of events significantly bigger than Leavers, and where there's alcohol involved or whatever, that's what we do, apart from doing normal business, looking after communities and stuff like that. Every year, our mission during Leavers is to maintain law and order for the duration of the event in the Southwest District. That's what our aim is to do over those few days. In particular, what we want to do is, our objectives are about minimising the harm on the host communities, the Busselton, the Dunsboroughs, Margaret Rivers, wherever, and other communities in the Southwest. So that's a key thing that we try to do, to minimise all the what may happen on any host community in the Southwest. We're also about protecting or looking after the safety and well-being of any Leavers and other people that are associated with the event as well. And lastly, and more important, well not more important, but just as importantly, providing business as normal to every other community in the Southwest to do that. So when it comes down to Leavers, my colleague up the back sitting down with the police jacket on is Scott Morrissey, Inspector Scott Morrissey. Scott's has control and coordination of all our policing resources for those few days in making sure that our police are in the right place at the right time to minimise all that risk. And we'll be having people that'll be out in the street, either on foot, on patrol, visiting accommodation places, doing what we call proactive patrols and just saying hello, a lot like our partner agencies, especially the Red Frogs. But we also have people that are actually around other areas of interest and where kids congregate and things like, or Leavers congregate and the like, and just to make sure they're okay. In terms of the zone, and I'm sure we're going to hear a bit more about the zone, we, if you don't know, we have a base of operations at the zone to make sure that things are going okay out there as well. So that's pretty much how we look at Leavers. Minimise the risk on the host communities. Make sure we take care of the safety and well-being of the Leavers and anyone else down here for the event, and make sure we take care of everyone else in the Southwest District. Now I know Jim's going to talk, I saw about driving and stuff like that, and I saw, mate, sorry to, I just read your slide there about the novice drivers and things like that. This community, and I hope this isn't a trigger, but this community knows only too well about what happens with road trauma. And we just want to do everything we can as police out there to make sure that everyone survives the time down here during levers, and that includes how we do our RBTs, our drug testing and the like, because as Barb said, there are people that will be coming down here that will be indulging in alcohol and drugs, whether they be illicit or not. So what we want to do, we're not about capturing, charging or whatever. We just want to make sure we give them the help they need and get them to people that can help them. That's our main aim. So I hope that I'm happy later on if anyone wants to ask questions or whatever, but in terms of what Barb said about the direction about the vaccine, we'll police whatever the rules come out as. We police large events already in the bustling area under COVID conditions and impacts. And those who have been around for the last couple of years would know we've had events where there's been quite significant COVID arrangements for events. It's already happened in the past. And so, and we'll just, if there's going to be mandatory vaccinations for people that want to go to event activities, well, that's the rule. Our part in it is just to help make sure that people stick to the rules and make sure everyone gets on okay and survives. So that's what the police are doing over the duration of the operation. And just as I said, our biggest intent is just to make sure everyone survives, goes home and enjoys their time, and that's what we want to see. So I don't know, we're taking questions later or just keep going?
Yeah, keep going, Jeff.
Okay, there you go.
Thank you. Again, lots of fantastic information and not one mention of the mighty Dunsborough Ducks. Right, now I'm going to introduce Jim Broughton, sorry, how do I do that? Jim's my colleague from the Road Safety and Drug Education branch, and we'll talk about road safety.
Thank you, Libby. And good evening to everyone, and thank you for giving up your time tonight. So the intent of my short presentation is to give you some information so that you can have that early conversation with your young person about how to reduce their risks of harm on the road, either as a driver, a passenger or a pedestrian when they're at levers. So you've seen this slide already, some of you might have had a bit of a look at it. The 6-month period when you're on your red Ps is when you are most at risk on the road, and the main reasons that these P-plate drivers crash are overconfidence and inexperience, unsurprisingly. Hazard perception isn't yet fully developed, takes a while to get used to it. Also, novice drivers are more likely to be involved in a crash at night. And that's due to this inexperience and reduced visibility and their hazard perception. They also may, as you can see on the slide there, novice drivers may experience increased fatigue and distraction as they're in a holiday situation. I think that's a huge understatement. After 4 days of partying and activities and excitement, they're going to be knackered. Young people don't have that sort of recognition of when they're getting tired in the same way that adults do. And so they get Duracell bunnies, to use an old term. Go, 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 and suddenly they're running on empty and it hits. Unlike us when we're adults, I tend to think of us more like a phone battery. We get a bit of a warning when we're at 20%. Then we get another warning when we're at 10% and we start to recognise it. We can even put ourselves into a bit of a low power mode and pull back on stuff. Young people aren't doing this quite yet, and so they just hit rock bottom and suddenly that's where they're at. So have a conversation with your young person. Use that analogy of mobile phones. That actually came from my 18-year-old nephew. I'm sure he won't mind me saying. Drivers are also going to be driving on unfamiliar roads during levers time, and even if they're not, and they are familiar with those roads, lots of the people they're sharing the road with are going to be unfamiliar with those roads, and so they're going to be more unpredictable, and it reduces their ability to predict the hazards that might be coming. So how can we minimise these risks? Well, the first one's a no-brainer in terms of driving in daylight hours and taking regular breaks. I should add to that as well that when we say daylight, we really mean daylight, sort of not early morning, a lot late afternoon, because that's when you've got a lot of wildlife on the road. The sun's low in the sky and can also create more risk. Should limit the number of passengers that are in the car with your young driver. I know there will be a want to try and carpool so that a lot of people can get down there, but as the number of passengers increases, so does the risk of a serious crash. If you imagine your young novice driver in there, 4 mates in the car with them partying, you can see that it's a difficult situation. So advice might be to just have one person in the car with the novice driver if you can, and maybe split into 2 cars if you're going to carpool in one big car. See if you can get an additional driver, additional vehicle, and reduce the number of passengers. As you can imagine, mobile phones, enormous distraction for drivers, and also if you're a passenger and you're using your mobile phone, that's going to distract the driver as well. So our suggestion, and what we say in Keys for Life, is put your phones in the boot of the car. If the young person is really not able to do that, then there are settings on the phone that you can go into and say, do not disturb, I'm driving. That's on iPhones, also on Android phones. If you have an old Android phone that doesn't have that capability, you can download an app which does the same thing. And lastly, just that centre circle there, just have a quick check of the car, the roadworthiness before leaving, especially tyres. Have a look at the tyres, make sure they've got plenty of tread. So when you have a conversation with your young person, try and emphasise these points. You've really got to make sure that you and your passengers are wearing seat belts. You are 10 times more likely to be killed if you're not wearing a seatbelt. And if that doesn't take the desired effect on the young person, maybe they're getting hit in the back pocket will be with a $500 fine and the demerit points that they would receive as well. Keep a minimum of a 2-second gap from the vehicle in front. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. It's about keeping distance from the vehicle in front of you. So pick a marker on the side of the road, something you can recognise, and you'll be able to count 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, or say only a fool breaks the 2-second rule before you actually come up to that point as well. And in fact, I would actually urge on the side of caution and go for a 3-second rule in the country. Doesn't do any harm. So 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, or only a fool breaks 2-second rule, and then some. Just hand back from that car in front, because we know about stopping distances and speed. Obviously, you're further behind the vehicle in front, you're less likely to go into it. Drive to the conditions. It's been rainy and wet down here, a lot of wind. Even if the road says 100 kilometres an hour, if it's raining and it's windy, pull back a little bit, I would suggest. Be patient and calm. Remind your young people that it's a privilege, not a right, to be on the roads, and they're sharing it with lots of other people. Drive in harmony with trucks. So reminding them of the physics of speed and how long trucks take to stop. Don't try and pull out in front of that truck if you think you can, because they do take a long time to stop, and the truck driver's not going to be very happy with you if you do that. And ultimately, we want to see you get there safely. And also look out for wildlife. Down in the country, there's going to be lots of things around coming out onto the roads. Evenings and mornings are going to be the worst, especially the mornings when the animals come out to lick the moisture off the white lines on the road. It's not a good time for your young person to be driving. So if you can alert them to those things, hopefully you can mitigate some of that risk. Passengers. So what a passenger should really be doing is helping out the driver, to be honest. Passengers should be a no-brainer to be wearing a seatbelt. If you're not wearing your seatbelt, then the driver of the car is going to get fined $500 because you are not wearing a seatbelt, so that's an incentive not to do it if the safety aspect isn't. So minimising those distractions from the driver, passengers not using phones, putting those in the boot of the car, or again using that settings function which says do not disturb because we're in a car. And have a conversation with them as well about that decision-making process that goes on about not accepting a ride from people you don't know, and certainly not getting in the car with someone that has been drinking or taking drugs. And ultimately, looking out for each other is a theme that you're going to hear across tonight, I would say. Looking out for your mates, making good decisions, doing the right thing by everyone is the most important thing at Levers. Now, pedestrian safety, normally I'm talking to people about this big, about pedestrian safety, but it is relevant for Levers because people will be walking around. If you can use footpaths, use them. and if there aren't any, walk on the far right. That's not a political statement. It just means in Australia, that's the direction that the oncoming traffic is coming. So they can see you, you can see them. Move off the road until the vehicle passes. You know, make sure you're not walking right outside the lines. If possible, step right off the road, and if there's a tree there, even better. The car's not going to get through a tree, even if it happens to lose control. Avoid texting while walking. I'm sure we've all seen humorous clips of people walking into lampposts and things like that while they're texting on their phones. But it's a very real risk, especially at levers, people just staring at their phones and walking across roads. So remind your young person, just as when they're driving, if you are on a road, you need to be aware of everything going on, not staring at your screen. If you can walk under street lights, do so. And I'd speak to a young person as well, if they're walking on a road where there are no street lights, having a little headlight or a little reflective strip on the back of a beanie or a cap or something like that is going to help other vehicles see you. And stay together. Obviously, the more numbers there are of you, the easier you are to see. So Plan B, again, is going to be a theme you'll probably hear about more tonight, and letting others know where you are going. Even if that's just going to the toilet or going to the medical area to check on a friend or something like that, I would suggest take a friend with you. Look out for each other, make sure everyone knows what's going on. Having a code word for if someone's feeling unsafe. Now this can be one you would have with a responsible friend, a good friend or something like that. For example, a name maybe, so that if you're in an unsafe situation and you want to transmit that to your friend that you're not really feeling very safe, but you don't want to lose face in front of your peers, use that code word. For example, it could be a name like Raymond. You're feeling in an unsafe situation. Yeah, no, all good. I'm just going to go and call Raymond. They've heard the safe word and they know that something's not quite right with you. It could be something different. They also have one for you as parents with your young person. Anything, Pavlova, for example. So they can call you and let you know that they're not feeling safe or they're not in a good situation. Hi Mum, dinner was great, but it would have been really nice if we'd had some Pavlova. Said, no lever ever, but I'm sure you can probably come up with something a bit better yourself. A bit of cash doesn't do any harm to have in your back pocket. Not too much, but enough to pay for a taxi if you really get caught out as part of your Plan B. Taking a mobile phone and ensuring it's charged. There's a lot of stuff going on around that area that sort of drains the battery out of your phone. So ensuring that it's charged before you go out in the evening as much as it can be is a good idea, and then you've still got your phone to use. Having a list of emergency phone numbers in either your mobile phone or wallet is a great idea, and that's something you can do for them. You don't even have to ask, you just put them in their phone. In fact, a good suggestion would be to write those emergency contact numbers down, take a photo of it, and it can be the screensaver on the phone. So even if they lose the phone, someone can still contact those emergency contact numbers, if that makes sense. Okay, well, that's me for road safety. Obviously, I'm around at the end if anyone wants to ask questions, but for now, I'd like to invite my excellent colleague, Libby Winchcombe, back to the stage. She's got two hats tonight, one being the MC, and the other one is talking to you about how to minimise the risk of harm with your young people from alcohol and other drugs whilst at levers. You're welcome, Libby. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. So while there are a wide range of alcohol and drug-free events on offer at levers, the use of alcohol or other drugs does take place. So this brief presentation looks at some information that can inform your conversations with your young people about alcohol and other drugs and to prepare them for levers. Not working. I'll just click right through. So in Australia, alcohol is ever present. We use alcohol to commiserate, we use alcohol to celebrate. Levers is no different. So the intensive binging consumption of alcohol does take place, and it comes with a range of potential risks. As the levers cohort is made up of 17 and 18-year-olds, Awareness of secondary supply laws is important. On the 20th of November 2015, laws came into effect regarding the secondary supply of alcohol. So under this law, it's an offence for anybody to supply under 18s with alcohol in a private setting without parental or guardian permission. And this offence carries a penalty of $10,000. Alcohol acts as a disinhibitor, which can lead to people doing things that they wouldn't generally or normally do. So for some young people, for some adults in fact, that may involve then taking illicit drugs. Illicit drugs are illegal drugs. So young people are vulnerable to risks from intoxication that include accident and injury, risk-taking, adverse behaviours, unsafe, regretful sex choices, alcohol overdose, and road trauma. So there are, I'll go on here. So illicit drugs, prior to the risk with illicit drugs is that nobody really knows what's in them except for the manufacturers. MDMA or ecstasy is related to stimulant drugs such as methamphetamine and also speeds up the nervous system. However, MDMA is different as it's also an hallucinogenic and has other psychoactive effects. Pre-COVID-19 studies conducted at music festivals in Australia reported that over 70% of participants had used MDMA at that event. The last pre-COVID levers in 2019, there were increased concerns around MDMA use. However, it was less prevalent in 2020. Border closures associated with COVID-19 have impacted the availability and the cost of illicit drugs, so there's less availability and an increased cost. The Australian Secondary School Alcohol and Drug Survey is usually carried out every 3 years. The last survey was conducted in 2017, and I believe the next survey will be done next year. It wasn't done in 2020 because of COVID. What that showed is that life in 2017 is that lifetime use among 16 to 17-year-olds in 2011 was 5% and rose to 9% in 2017. And in 2017, 15% of males and 8% of females had ever used MDMA. So anytime we see a statistically significant increase in the use of a drug like this, it's cause for concern. However, please be aware that those statistics show that most young people are not choosing to take or use MDMA. Drugs sold as MDMA, can't say that properly right this evening, actually have varying levels of MDMA in them. Some may have a very small amount, some may have none at all, and can often contain other substances such as caffeine, aspirin, paracetamol, ketamine, which is an anaesthetic, or other contaminants. Purer MDMA does not mean safer MDMA. It's the MDMA in MDMA that increases the risk of harm. Some forms of MDMA have been reported to contain 3 times the amount of what is considered a single dose. And some risks include overheating and dehydrating, not drinking enough water, or that big word there, hyponatremia. If there's a nurse in the room, might be able to help me with that, which can cause the body to retain water, which can lead to sodium sodium imbalances, which leads to harmful effects such as headache, nausea, vomiting, seizures, coma, death. So the key is hydrate, stick to about 500 mils, 1 small bottle or two cups of water every hour. Some warning signs for seeking help are feeling too hot, problems controlling shakes, aches or cramps, unusual amount of sweating, rapid breathing, nausea or vomiting, diarrhea, headache, confusion or agitation, hallucinations, psychosis, seizures, or reduced loss of consciousness. The key message for young people is to watch out for their friends, and they might not know what the dangers are. At Levers, have I gone too far? Yeah. At Levers, the safety and well-being of young people attending is the #1 priority, and you've heard that today already from the police. It's safer not to use drugs, but if someone does and starts to have any symptoms of toxicity or overdose, please encourage your young people to visit the tent at the zone, any of the volunteers or services around in the area at the time, or call 000 and access the St John ambulance. Police will not normally attend unless paramedics or first aid providers are threatened or there is a death. Emphasise to your young person that it is vital and important to get help early. There is some really good information on the Drug Aware, so drugaware.com.au website, with some tips to stay safe and on drug toxicity. And we encourage you to have a look at those, and we have some information up that you can have a look later on our little table at the back of the room. So some tips. Talk early. Congratulations, thank you for being here. Be informed yourself. Empower your teenager by equipping them with as much information as you can so that they can make informed and safe choices. Discuss ways to staying safe. So rather than getting into a vehicle, if they suspect somebody has been drinking or taking an illicit substance, that they have some strategies for looking after themselves and looking after their friends. Some other websites to have a look at are Sedera, which is our website, School Drug Education and Road Aware, the Levers WA website, Alcohol Think Again, Drug Aware, and the Alcohol and Drug Foundation website. So that's just a little bit of information to support in the alcohol and other drug area. And now I would like to introduce Leanne Bates from Hope Community Services, and Leanne is the coordinator for School Leavers, Community Engagement and Volunteers, and this is her 8th Leavers. So congratulations, thank you. If you need to put forward that one.
Okay. Hi guys, as she said, I'm Leanne. I'm from Hope Community Services. Hope is a part of an overall health team for the school leavers, and this includes St John Ambulance, Department of Health, WA Country Health System. The health teams have nurses, paramedics, St John doctor and St John volunteers and mental health nurses. Now I've got to go. I'm really useless at this type of thing.
Just press enter.
Oh, enter. Okay. I got it.
Give me that, just
Barbara and myself are not very good at this, okay? I'm just, yeah, okay. Basically, the Hope team, we're all actually trained in first aid, and we also trained in alcohol and other drugs, which is actually, Hope Community Services is a drug and alcohol and mental health situation system in Perth. We actually do de-escalation, so we actually know that what we can actually do if someone gets a bit upset, we can actually handle that as well. We do sexual health, we also do manual handling. Some of our volunteers and staff have been to school leavers for over 11 years. We're fondly known as the vomit tent, and yes, we actually see an awful lot of that. Yeah, okay, the next one please. Okay, we actually do our outreach mainly at night, and we do that in the zone. And what we actually do is we actually meet a lot of the young people that are coming off the bus. And I'm going to be really honest with you, some of them fall off the bus, some of them jump off the bus, some of them don't even get off the bus. And we actually meet them, make sure they do, have a bit of a chat with them, just to see where they're at and what they're actually doing. The ones that actually fall off the bus and need a little bit more help, we man the buggies, basically with 2 paramedics that come out, so they're little golf buggies, they zoom everywhere to pick everybody up. And for want of a better word, some of the young people, and I know they're your children, but I'm just going to give it to you how it is, some of the young children, in an old-fashioned word, are paralytic, and so they actually do need to be actually helped on and off to go into triage. We also do some day outreach. We actually help with the beach fest, which is really great. We actually help out, do the water out there, and just general chatting around the town and things like that. Okay, the next one please. Okay, our recovery, I'm going to show you in a couple of slides' time what our recovery tent looks like. So it's nothing flash, we don't have real beds, basically, as you can see on the floor there, but I'll show you a little bit more. Our team, all of our teams have team leaders. They're the people that actually instruct where people go. We have 4 volunteers and a team leader that can assist up to 8 to 10 young people at any one time. There's always a paramedic in our tent who is assigned to recovery to give us additional expert care. Basically, we also have a recovery manager who has 11 years experience, and then we have what happens is we have a really big board, so when they actually come through, they're given the number is on their actual triage form. We log that down, we log pretty much whether they're walking, they're not walking, whatever they're doing, and they're assigned to a bed. We actually have 40 beds this year on the ground, and so that we've increased that from last year, which we only have used to have 32, so we've got 40 on the ground this year. And as I said, 4 teams of 5 volunteers, and one of the 5 volunteer teams also goes into triage, and they're actually under the care of the nurses and the triage staff as well. And then we have a tent manager. Our tent manager is basically the one that just directs where everyone needs to go. The role that I actually do there is I kind of stand at the back and just make sure we step in and out of what we actually have to do, but it's very, very important for you to know that these young people are very, very safe with us. We may not have the best of floors and we're gaffer taped everywhere, but you can actually find the fact that we are there to help. The next slide, please. The next slide, it's just actually our beds. So what they are, we gaffer tape beds together, how we've got them. We actually then, you can see in the front row there is the red beds. We call them our beds that are for people that we really, really need to watch. And what happens through the night is they come from triage, they come in, they'll either go into first aid, St John area, or they'll come to us. And often through the night, we kind of flick between one and the other. What happens is we sober them up, and we make them recover. I'm a bit of an old tyrant because I've just figured that, you know, you've indulged in this, you want to be an adult, so you need to wake up and get on with things. And so it's a little bit of a nudge there every now and again to say, you know, you're not here just to sleep it off. With all the love in my heart, you're still not allowed here to sleep it off. So we actually get them to the stage where they can actually sit up in an ambulant area. So if that's the next slide, please. That is our ambulant area. The ambulant area is where we actually discharge from. So they will come from on the floor, get them up to walk, because what actually often happens, once they've been lying down and get up off the floor and start to walk to ambulant because we think they're doing really well, they'll throw up again because it's that movement and whatever like that. So that's why it's a vomit tent. So and we catch most of it. So basically, not all of it, but we catch most of it. As I say to them, like that M&M ad, aim for the bowl, just aim for the bowl. So, and they do, most times they do. So they actually come into the ambulant area, and after that, they normally sit there for about an hour or a couple of hours, and then we let them go. One thing would be really good for you to chat with your young people about is the fact that when you actually get into the tent area, into the medical area, you could be there most of the night. So, you know, by the time you go to St John, or you come to us, or you just whatever like, you could be 3 hours on the floor sobering up, another hour here, and it's gone. So, and I'll be really honest with you, we expect to see young people in there. We get a bit worried when we see them maybe one or two nights. We get very, very worried when it's actually 3 nights, and that's where our mental health people come in. We're really a well-organised and well-oiled team, and we complement each other very, very well. But just keep remembering it's the vomit tent and aim for the bowl.
So important to have a sense of humour. Yes. Thank you so much. Georgia, I would like to introduce. Georgia Eaton is from the Royal Lifesaving WA. This will be Georgia's 3rd year involved with Levers, and Georgia's responsible for daytime diversionary activities during Levers, providing alcohol and water safety education. So Georgia's going to talk about some of these, including the very popular Meal Up Beach Fest. So thank you, Georgia.
All right, hi everyone, I hope we're doing well. So as previously mentioned, my name's Georgia and I'm the Youth Water Safety Coordinator at Royal Lifesaving, and yes, I have been doing it for 3 years. This will be my 3rd Levers and I absolutely love being involved. So do I just press enter here? That's cool. Okay, so Royal Lifesaving is the leading provider of water safety education in WA, and with Levers staying in Dunsborough Busselton, they're going to be around water, and a lot of the time they might be around water when they're consuming alcohol. So we just come down with some volunteers and provide water safety education, particularly around consuming alcohol and then going swimming. So what we do. So on the Sunday and Monday, we're down at the wristband lines. We have stalls, games and giveaways, and we're just engaging with the Levers, having chats, seeing what they're excited for, what they're looking forward to during the week, and help out where's needed. Then on the Tuesday this year, we're going to provide an activity called the Amazing Race. So Levers will sign up in groups of 4, and then they'll complete a bunch of different activities with prizes for the teams that finish 1st, 2nd and 3rd. So that's something for them to get around on the Tuesday. And then on the Wednesday, it's our big event, which is the Meal Up Beach Fest. So it's a day for the Levers to get out of their accommodation. I assume most of your kids will be staying with you because you're down here. No, some of them aren't. Oh, that's good. You don't have to deal with them. So if they're not, it's a chance for them to get out of their accommodation. It's a chance for support services to check in, make sure they're doing okay. If there are any services that they need, we can attend to that, and making sure that they're fed and getting watered. So it's a good time for them to just have a chill out day with their friends and enjoy the sunshine. So we have beach games, lawn games, pool inflatables, face painting. We also have a resident DJ, beach cabanas, and a number of food trucks attending. And so here's a little video from last year.
Good, people are good. Yep, the vibe is great. Everyone's having fun.
Love the scenery the beach is so stunning.
It's really good. It's a really good midweek break from the zone to be able to come down here and relax in the sun.
Just hanging out with friends and stuff like that, it's just an absolute
Yeah,
blast.
it's not often you get to hang out with all mates and make new friends.
Yeah.
And
The weather's amazing. We're very lucky with the weather. We love meeting new people and just hanging out together.
We're enjoying the good vibes, the food, everything.
Our friends!
Okie dokie, so that was a snapshot of last year and what it was looking like, so it'll look very similar this year. So I wouldn't be able to run the day without help from a lot of the support services, many of whom are in this room tonight. So Marcus from WA AIDS Council, his volunteers come down and provide sexual health education and they hand out condoms. We have Hope, as Leanne just mentioned, they come down and run our water station, so they hand out water to the kids and provide drug and alcohol outreach where needed. Red Frogs come and hand out red frogs and provide support to the leavers. We have Cancer Council who comes down to provide some Sun Smart education, handing out some sunscreen and hats and all that sort of stuff. And Lamp Inc. come down with bongo drums and they provide leavers survival kits with toothbrushes, toothpaste, all that sort of stuff. So by that time, some of them have run out, so it's good to replenish the stocks. And we also have St John's that come down and provide first aid for anyone who needs it. So my top tips, as you guys are all live down here, this is a bus-only event, so your kids can only get to the day via one of the leavers buses, so you cannot drop them at Meerlap Beach or anything like that. There is a roadblock set up, so you'll need to drop them at a bus stop, which can be found on the Leavers WA app, and they'll have to catch a bus out to Meerlap Beach. If you try and drop them out, they'll get turned away. There's going to be a cop car and roadblocks and all that sort of stuff, so you will get turned away. Then you have to take your leaver to a bus stop, then they'll have to get on a bus and then they'll have to come out. So just making sure you cut out all that extra time and just drop them at a bus stop and then they can get off. Then let them know a time when you'll be picking them up, get them to get off the bus and back to where you dropped them off to pick them up. So take money for food. Wi-Fi does get a bit dodgy around the area, so sometimes with the food vendors, the Wi-Fi isn't stable. So take just 10, 20 bucks. Most things don't cost more than $15, so just some cash just in case. And making sure that your leaver gets down there early. Last year we had 6,600 kids down there, so it was quite busy. And so we stop the bus runs when we're at capacity. So there will be no more leavers coming to the event. So making sure that you get your kids down there early so they are guaranteed to get in. And then what we do is we start, last year I think we cut it off about 1 or 2 o'clock. So it just depends each year. So making sure that they do get down there early and then we'll start getting all the kids off the beach. So I'll be up here later to answer any questions and I'll be roaming around the back later if you have any other questions for me. So thanks.
Brilliant, thank you, Georgia. And looking at that video, looking forward to some warm weather after a long, cold, wet winter. Lastly, and certainly, we have Hayden Glass from Red Frogs. And Hayden has been around leavers for a very long time, in fact, since 2001. Hayden's the State Director of Red Frogs, and in that role is responsible for the overall management and strategic direction of Red Frogs, overseeing all of its different programs, which he will tell you about now and how Red Frogs are involved down here in Leavers. So thanks, Hayden.
Awesome. Thanks, Libby. I'm going to grab my clicker. Hey, how y'all doing? Hey, so good to be here. My name's Hayden. Great to be a part of such a great event, but also great to be partnering with all the other support services that are here to once again deliver leavers for this community, but also for the graduating cohort of Year 12. Along with Barbara and Libby, I too would like to pay my respects to the custodians of the land that we're meeting on today and pass and acknowledge any Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islanders who are in the room today. So Red Frogs started in Western Australia in 2001. It was actually Inspector Jeff Stewart that rang our founder in Queensland and said, hey, can you bring some Red Frogs down to Leavers Week in Dunsborough? And so Chantel Packer, who was our state director at that time, recruited 19 of her friends, and we all came down here and got given a Red Frog t-shirt, a 1.3 kilo bag of Red Frogs, and are told to go find the leavers. And so we kind of set out doing that, and that year you're a team leader if you had a car. It was a really great recruitment program. And so my team got sent out to Four Seasons Caravan Park just up on Caves Road, and we kind of all get out of the car, and it was a little bit man versus wild, and we're like, where are they? And over in the corner was a peach cabin. I'm pretty sure it's still peach today. And we start walking towards this cabin because the lights were on and the music was, the lights were on, there was music. But you know when you're walking with your mates and no one wants to get there first? And so you kind of take a half step and you end up walking in a line rather than in a group. That's how we kind of walk towards this cabin. And then we just like knock on the door and this little lever peers out. And we're like, do you want some frogs? They're like, yeah, come in. We're like, no way this works. And so that's when we started gate crashing parties in the Southwest at Leavers Week. And flowing on from that, we now work in the university sector, mainly where students live on campus, which is pretty much Leavers Week every week of the year. We also do a lot of things in the music festival scene, but also in high school education as well. This year we'll speak to over 160, we'll deliver over 160 seminars to young people right throughout Western Australia, mainly about Leavers Week. How not to get evicted, you like that one. You also like the one where you talk about how not to turn their parents into grandparents at Leavers Week as well, so you're welcome. And then we do a lot of things, obviously, around Leavers Week and partnering with the other support services that are down here. Red Frogs runs a number of different parts of the strategy on behalf of the state government for leavers, and one of them is visiting accommodation, and so we're out in the accommodation flipping pancakes and handing out Red Frogs. By the way, not a plug, but we do get fully sponsored. 25,000 kilos every year from Allen's, and they freight them all over the country as well. We should be sponsored by the Dental Association, but that's a conversation for another day. So we work in the accommodation and flipping pancakes, but really the opportunity, we use those opportunities to get to know the young people that are down here, but also letting them know the other support services and the help that is available for them, and encourage them to attend things like the Amazing Race and Beach Fest and get out from their accommodation and actually enjoy the local community that's down here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you one of the videos that we actually show in our high school seminars around accommodation, and then I'm going to share some of my tips for you guys as well, and then we'll talk about the Leavers Zone.
Now, chances are you or your parents have forked out a little bit of cash for your accommodation. These places all have rules and regulations that you need to follow. If not, you may end up losing your bond or even worse, get evicted.
Now, there are some things that you guys can do to make sure you get your bond back and to make sure that you guys have the best stay ever. Firstly, be smart about what you choose to do in your accommodation. Things like WWE wrestling in the caravan, cricket in the apartment, or a hallway slip and slide in your Airbnb might not be the best idea. Broken windows, damaged walls, and noise complaints might be costly. Try something else like cards, chess, or even sitting in a circle holding hands, talking about your feelings. You know, the fun stuff.
You know what's a bad idea? Having all the parties at your place and letting strangers into your accommodation. We've seen both of these things far too often, and rarely do they end well. The place could get trashed, you could lose your bond, and all over someone else's silly decision. You may not be able to get rid of them.
Also, what you do on your balcony is really important, so make sure you don't rest bottles, glasses, or any other object on the balcony edge. If it falls, it could seriously hurt someone, or worse.
Most importantly, stick by the house rules and respect other guests. If you keep the accommodation staff on your side, they'll ensure your stay is enjoyable, and best of all, you should get your bond back.
So my number one tip for accommodation is to party in everyone else's unit, and that way your unit gets to stay nice and clean and tidy. But on that as well, it's a really good opportunity while you're talking to your young people about their accommodation and the house rules of the accommodation providers, like how many people are allowed in the unit, what time is checkout, what happens if something does get broken. He's actually talking to them about how they actually plan to eat that week. Subway alternated with mee goreng is not going to get them through. And so one thing that you can probably do in helping that situation is a lasagna or a pasta bake in takeaway containers in the freezer, and then they've got that while they're down there, and they've kind of got some home-cooked meals every single night. Also encourage them in that, do them a deal that every time, if they're at the bottle shop, for every slab of beer they buy, they've got to buy a slab of water. And also, if you're get it right in there with your young person having a great chat, I encourage them to write H2O on their drinking hand. They'll show you drinking hand really quickly. But just write H2O just in here on your drinking hand. And every time you see it, they've got to have a drink of water while they're out partying. And so that way they can last a little bit longer in their accommodation. Unfortunately, there have been cases in the past where accommodation deals are too good to be true. And so that's where you need to make sure that your young people are reading the terms and conditions of the place where they're staying and understanding the rules that each different accommodation provider has around parties and alcohol and celebrating and all that sort of thing, so that your young person is totally aware of what they're actually signing up for, but also going to be a part of while they're there. It's also what we recommend is that on check-in at their accommodation, that they leave all their bags in the car and go into the unit and take any photos that are in the unit of any damage that's already there. And this is a great tip for leavers, but also when they go away with their mates over summer, and even if they go out flatting with mates next year as well. But take photos of any damage, so stains on the carpet, the broken coffee table, even the burn on the kitchen bench where someone's put a hot saucepan. Take a photo of that and take it back to reception and make sure that's listed on their booking so that they don't get in trouble for that pre-existing damage upon checkout as well. One of the other things that Red Frogs does is we deliver and the service providers for the Leavers Entertainment Precinct. So it's a 20,000 square metre precinct with 4 stages, which contains silent discos, but also live DJs as well. There's carnival rides, which we saw in some of the footage that was here before, and also the infamous vomit tent. Thanks, Leanne. Don't freak out. They'll be okay, okay? They'll be okay. We'll look after them, we promise. There's a volunteer army of over 500 people that are coming to Leavers Week to look after your young people. So we'll get them home. They'll have some stories to tell, but we'll get them home. And so that's where the medical tent is as well, first aid, but also where all the other service providers are at night where they can get help. The other places that young people can get help while they're at Leavers, obviously in an emergency, we want you to call 000 and make sure that you get the help that you need there. Red Frogs runs a 24-hour hotline at Leavers Week. It's actually based here in the southwest for Western Australia. Last year, nearly 10,000 young people nationwide rang, here I'll step out of the way, you don't need a photo of me, rang that hotline. Some of them got it confused. They rang and asked for pancakes or Red Frogs. They got it confused with Uber Eats. But other people rang for more serious things. And so we were able to link them in with other service providers that are there as well. Obviously the police, Boston Health Campus or Health Direct for any health related questions as well. I and my team are going to be around at the back after tonight's seminar, and more than happy to answer any questions that you may have. Otherwise, looking forward to seeing your precious ones in about 6 weeks' time. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Hayden. What an impressive array of volunteers, of services, all aimed to keep young people safe during Leavers in such now a well-coordinated event. So thank you for those who came along tonight to present. And can I invite people who are involved in Leavers to come up to the front, and we can have a Q&A session, please. Is there another microphone that somebody can rove for? Great, thank you.
They can type their questions into the chat, and that's being monitored as well.
Okay, great. So if you're on live stream, please type any questions into the chat, and those questions will be answered as well. So I'll start off asking questions from the floor, and who would you like to direct your question to?
Hi there, my name's Jenny. I'm not sure who this is going to be directed to. Maybe Barb, I'm thinking, but I'll leave it open to you guys. So mine is about the mandatory COVID vaccine, and I'm wondering what is the health advice for mandating this, given that we know that young kids are at a near zero risk of dying of COVID, and according to the TGA are at low spreaders. And not to mention that 3 weeks ago, WA hosted the footy, 64,000 people in the stadium. They then had the Royal Show, which if you saw the photos of that, it was absolutely packed. And a week after Levers is the Busselton Ironman, which is going to attract roughly the same amount of people to the region as the Levers. And as far as I know yet, there's been no mandate for that. So my question is what is the health advice that justifies a mandate on our kids?
Okay, thank you. Excellent question. In relation to the mandated vaccination, the information that I've provided you already is the information that's it. I've been given a mandate, we've all been given a mandate from the Levers project team. The health advice is from the Chief Health Officer, and so that's what we have to comply with. So there's been a lot of people here today that have stood up and said that they'll do their very best to make sure that your lever is safe, and that's what we will do. We're a project team. Our job is to run levers each year. These are the conditions that we've been given to run levers this year, so I'm afraid that's your answer. But we will do everything to make sure that your lever is safe.
Thank you. Yes.
Is that one or doubly vaccinated?
One vaccination. Yes, one vaccination. I'm just waiting on the final details from the chief. See, I knew I wouldn't be able to say that. It's really hard to say. The CHO. So still waiting on the final details from the CHO, and then all of those details will be on Facebook, the Levers WA website, and anywhere else, social media that we can find to get that message out to you.
Oh, hi. My question, I forget your name, but I love your hair colour. Sorry, my question is, so if our child goes to triage, if they're under 18, do we get notified, or is that just something, the records? I'm just curious, that's all. Do we get notified if they're under 18?
No.
Okay.
Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah. Basically, we only notify parents if they specifically ask us to.
Okay. Thank you. Just curious.
It's basically what happens at Levers stays at Levers unless they actually want to go and tell parents and that there. Yeah.
Georgia, I think my question's aimed at you. In terms of Meal Up, I understand how I can access my child if they want out normally, but with the roadblocks, if my son says, I want out, Dad, how do I get him out?
So there's buses running about every 10 minutes on a loop. So he'll just need to line up. There'll be signs where he's going, so you pre-arrange where you're going. And if he wants out, he'll just jump on a bus and see you later. So there's buses coming in, but even during the day, there's buses going out as well. So it's very easy for him to get off, go back to Dunsborough or wherever, and get out.
Okay, thank you.
Fingers crossed he doesn't need that, because it's a very fun day. Yeah.
Just in terms of the whole southwest, I understand that there's, I'm pretty sure this is correct, there's also buses running continually from Busselton to Dunsborough to Yellingup. Is that the case?
Yeah, they're running from 9 in the morning till 6 at night every half an hour. Okay. So we've got 6 buses running continually So you can get all the way around, and then we do the zone buses, 40 buses, starting from 7 o'clock to 1 in the morning.
At various different locations in the southwest, obviously.
Yeah,
Very-
so they run from Yelling up through to Bustleton, mainly on the Bustle Highway.
Yep.
And right down to Yelling up Caves.
Oh, perfect. Yep.
I'm sorry, I've got a couple more questions. Georgia, can people walk to Meelup? No.
Sorry, people live streaming. They've got to catch a bus, so they can't walk down. There'll be people turning them around. So it's just for safety. We don't want kids walking down that hill. There's buses coming all the
But
time.
on the walk path that
No,
goes?
no.
Okay.
So that will be there'll be people there as well, just turning them back, because it's easier if we can control. We can also make sure that they've got a wristband on, and so they're only leavers coming to the event and not other people coming in.
Okay, and sorry, one more question. I know I'm hogging. Maybe for the AMBOs or the nurses in the room. So once again, going back to this mandate. So if this is about the health of the community and about the health of our young children, is it possible to do a rapid antigen test for those kids that choose not to have the vaccine? So they're actually doing the rapid antigen testing at the airport at the moment, and Greg Hunt, the Chief Health Officer, has said that it's going to become a home test kit from November. So just wanting to find out if that could potentially be a possibility for those kids that would prefer not to have the vaccine.
At the moment, the direction is that they have to have one vaccination to get a wristband. So there's been no other information about rapid antigen testing. That generally is for a very high-risk situation, like a patient in a hospital having that testing. So there hasn't been any discussion about that. So the directions are the one vaccine. Yeah.
So sorry, just with this mandate, it hasn't been signed, it hasn't been approved yet, has it?
It's hasn't been released yet. It has been approved, but it's just being drafted up, the finalisation drafted up. So yes, the mandate is already there. It won't change, but officially the document hasn't been released. Once the document's released, we'll be able to then put strategies in place around how we evidence a leaver being vaccinated.
Hey guys, I'm not much of a talker. So with this mandate, why can't is it the CHO, the Chief Health Officer, be here tonight to answer some of these questions? Being the first mandate with such a large crowd, why can't he be here to answer some of these questions?
There will be a launch for leavers sometime in the very near future, and there may be a possibility that could occur, I don't know, but this evening we are here to talk to you about leavers, not about mandated vaccination. And the people in the room have done a really good job year after year trying to keep leavers safe, and so the information that we are imparting tonight is about the leavers event, and we're not prepared to get into debate or discussion about mandated vaccinations. Like we said, we're a project team. We've been given a direction, and we will do everything in our power to follow that through to make sure your leavers are safe this year.
So far, if our kids don't get the vaccine, they can't go. So how are you going to keep them safe on the street? There'll be parties everywhere. They'll be out of control. There'll be drugs, there'll be alcohol, there'll be sex, how are you going to keep our kids safe?
Yeah, well, it starts...
In the zone, they are safe.
Yeah.
Within the walls.
I'll wait till you finish.
Yeah, they are within the cage, shall we say. How are you going to keep them safe?
Yeah, well, first of all, it's going to start at home for a starter. There'll be conversations and that's why we're asking everyone here today, to have conversations right now around the kitchen table about being safe and what you have to do to look after yourself. And I think it might have been Hayden, it might have been other people that said about look after yourself, look after your mates and stuff. But that's a conversation you need to have. Now, there will be people that won't want to go to the event sites. That's okay. It happens every year, and we'll police that. in terms of what we do, but not only the police, there's all these people here that are going to be patrolling the community as well, not just the zone, and they'll be looking out for people that need help, and that's what we do. But I've got no doubt that the message that's delivered at home is our best defence, and all the advice about having all the phone numbers and all that type of stuff as well, that's how you actually make things safe, and actually have conversations with your kids about if they don't feel safe, ring that number and get some help or whatever. That's what you do it. But I can't foresee anarchy in the streets about this event. As I said, we police leavers and people that aren't leavers and people that aren't at leavers events every year. The best thing about this event, though, is that we have event sites that actually take care and look after the kids and that. So it comes down to personal choice, and that's what it is, a choice. But the best defence is at home and the conversations that you guys and girls are going to have around the kitchen table with your leavers.
As a business owner as well, I suppose, we normally do the Meal Up Beach Day and the zone. We have a van that we sell products from. I believe out of 5 vans this year at Meal Up, 3 have already pulled out because of the mandate. Those 3 local businesses are going to make nothing out of this.
Look, I thank you for your concerns, and I'll say it for the last time. We're a group of people. We're here to run an event. We've been given some directions. We're following those directions. The mandate is leavers wishing to come into the formal leavers event will be vaccinated, will at least have their first vaccination. Staff and volunteers, same thing applies. So unfortunately, if that means that we have lost some of the services within the zone, we will, as a group, a project team, do whatever it takes to fill those gaps.
So isn't this discrimination on our kids that aren't getting the vaccine?
Sorry, I missed that.
Isn't this discrimination on our kids if they don't want to have the vaccine?
I think I kind of made that clear before.
Sorry, it's a yes or no answer, I suppose.
The discrimination here is about the COVID-19 Delta virus, and I think we need to put an end to the discussion about the mandated vaccination. This isn't the place for it.
Well, it is, because our kids can't go to something they only found out a couple of weeks ago that they can't go.
All our others who have been, he's been looking forward to it for years, and now 7 weeks in, last week dashed, he can't go.
Your child can still participate in leavers in the southwest, just unable to come into the formal events. There are conditions of entry for that formal event, and that's what the conditions of entry are.
I mean, we did do leavers last year, and COVID was quite a big thing last year, because there were cases in the state. So there was a big, very strict guidelines. We had to sign lots of codes of conduct to operate there as well. So we're very well aware of, you guys do an amazing service. All of you do great. We're right there in the zone all week. What's the threat? What's different this year to last year? There was more COVID cases last year.
As I said, I'm not going to get into a debate with you about it. It's not the right place. We have made clear.
Where is the right place?
Do we speak to someone else, maybe?
Well, perhaps raise your concerns at a government level. This is a direction from the Chief Health Officer.
We did try to go. I spoke to the COVID hotline yesterday about this mandate, and it hasn't been approved. It's been requested. So it's not signed and done yet.
Did you want to talk about that from the CHO perspective?
So the mandate isn't actually, it's not mandatory yet, is it?
It is mandatory. It's been endorsed verbally. The actual
But until it
document
actually
is being
gets
written up.
signed, it's not actually law.
Can I just suggest that, as has been said that this is a project, that those decisions have not been made by anybody here.
Oh, we
and
understand that.
yeah,
We
could
totally
we
understand that.
Perhaps
We just don't know where, I mean, we thought
Yeah.
this would be the perfect opportunity. Obviously, other people have
Yep.
concerns, and that's why we're here. We're
Yep.
like, we're here to hear about it all.
Yes.
And to
And
try
as
and
has
get some
been
answers.
said, everybody involved with levers is following what the Chief Health Officer is saying, and that is what levers has to do. Anybody involved in levers have to do. So if we could, we've got some other people that would like to ask
Yep,
some
sure.
questions. If we could move on, that would be fantastic. Thank you. At the back.
Look, I respect everybody's opinion here, but the person to go to would be Mark McGowan. Okay, Mark McGowan. If you want to ask any questions, ask Mark McGowan. You know? So, because these poor people here are doing their job and doing it really well, and, you know, they're really in a difficult situation, and Emperor McGowan is the one at the moment who is putting his foot in the way of all of this. You know, you look at New South Wales opening up and they've had far more deaths and cases than we have. So, you know,
Okay.
these are not the people to address the issue to.
Yep. Thank you. And we have a question down the front here. If we could perhaps focus on some other areas.
Hi, I actually don't have any questions for you, but I just wanted to say thank you so much for a brilliant presentation tonight. I am so excited and pumped as a parent. I would look, as a young person, I'd be in the purple tent because that's just me. I'm actually dying to volunteer with the Red Frogs because I think I'd have so much fun. But look, I really think you're doing a great job. Thank you very much. And thank you for keeping our kids safe, but you guys safe and the volunteers safe. So that's it. Thank you.
I'm sure everybody here would be saying thank you. Two more questions.
Just
Yep, that's okay.
the what you call the vomit tent, or perhaps we could call it the alcohol abuse tent. Is that in the zone?
Yes,
Right.
actually,
So
yeah.
can I ask the question, how do our kids actually get into that tent in the first place? How, because, you know, in order to vomit from alcohol, obviously they have abused alcohol. How are kids getting in there drunk, into the zone, drunk to start with? How is MDMA getting into the zone to start with?
I can answer the basically how the young people are getting into the zone. They will catch a bus. They will probably be quite okay on the bus. They will preload because that's what they do. They'll preload on the way, and often when I'm saying they're falling off the bus, they literally are. I'm being honest with you.
Okay, we've got people here arguing about mandates and everything. Why can't we have the police breathalyzing people before they enter the zone?
Because the levers, from what I can gather, the levers is a safe space. Okay, they're going to come out to the zone and have had too much alcohol. What happens is they actually come off the bus or they come wherever they are, and they're then taken to a medical area. The medical area is set up, and Gary, if you can help me as well, the medical area is set up for this exact reason. It's the fact is to keep these young people safe. They're better off coming to the zone and having had too much than being in Lions Park underneath a tree. Because what happens is they will come out, and we can't help the fact that they have had too much to drink or have imbibed in drugs as well. But they come out to us, to the triage, and they will go to wherever they need to go. I can't answer the police question because I don't know that. Gary, do you need to say anything else about?
Probably. So basically, we are there to keep the kids safe. So they come to us.
I understand that.
They come preloaded. There's no drugs or alcohol available
so what you're doing
in
is
the
you're
zone.
allowing what you've stipulated as a non-alcoholic event, a non-drug event, but you're happy to have them come in. I mean, surely this is a greater community issue where you shouldn't be allowing those people into an event where people are trying to go to be safe.
We need those kids to come in. before we had the zone, we were actually finding kids by themselves lying in their vomit, blocking airways and things like that. And I've seen over the years, their friends bring them in and say, please, can you help them? So believe me, you want your child to go into the zone if they're actually preloaded to the point where they're paralytic. You want that to happen because they'll be safe, because otherwise people will leave them by themselves and no one will know where they are. And that's when there's a risk of physical, sexual or intimidation, assaults or whatever. You want your children to come to these people in the zone. I've seen it over the years all the time, and Scott has as well. They're so safer when they do that. That's a pure and simple fact. In relation to illicit drugs, we do charge people, each operation we do charge people, and we put a big emphasis on actually identifying illicit drug dealers and like down in the southwest during this time, because people will come down here purely to make money off your kids. And the biggest risk that we have, and the biggest danger we have, and the biggest fear that we have is that your kids may take something that they don't know what it is. You want your kids, when that happens, to be in their care. Simple as that. And it's great to see other leavers take them in there and say, please help us, rather than just leave the kids in accommodation and everyone else leaves them by themselves and they just fall asleep.
I understand that, and you know what you guys are doing is a great job, but obviously education is lacking. That kids are getting into this state and not understanding that they can have a good time and.
And do the kids pay for buses on top of that, or no? Okay. Okay. And what happens if they lose it?
Then they can go back to
Okay.
There will be policies around lost and damaged wristbands, and that will be provided for the event. Find it, they have to buy a new one. If they've damaged it and it's still kind of intact on their wrist, or they've got it, then there's a process in place. But the main thing is the wristbands are sold to make sure that leavers stay safe, and they're only genuine leavers. If they've lost their wristband or given it to someone else, I'm not saying they will do that, but it may happen, then people might be getting in that actually shouldn't be getting in. And so we're very tight on make sure you look after your wristband. If it is too tight or whatever, come back to the wristband sales, we'll fix it for you.
And they can only be bought at leavers? Yep.
At the wristband sale locations, yes.
Thank you.
Can I just check in to see if there's any questions online? Nothing? Okay, great. All right, I think we might wrap up for the evening. Could we please give thanks to everybody for turning up tonight, but more importantly for all the work that happens the rest of the year, and most importantly, the work during leavers. So absolutely, the number of services, of paid employees and volunteers is outstanding. So can we acknowledge and thank. And we would like to thank you for coming along this evening and for listening and for asking questions. We really appreciate you being here. We have a very brief evaluation form that we will put on these two tables. It's only got about 3 or 4 questions in it. If you could please fill that in for us, that would be fantastic. And before you leave, please have a look and at the different information that's available from some of the services that are here today. We wish you well, and we wish that your young people stay safe and have a fun and fantastic leavers. Thank you.